So I'm going to start with my name on the back of my paper so I can find it later when it is dry, and we are using a semi-moist watercolor set from Praying. There are 8 colors in this set, but you are not limited to those 8 colors. You can do color mixing. So I like to mix on the lid of my palette or directly onto my paper. Make sure that you keep the actual ovals really clean. You want those to be the original colors, and do all your mixing either, like I said, on the paper or on the lid. Here I'm just kind of playing with different brush strokes. I could push harder or lighter, adjust the tip, or push down and smush and make a wider line. Here I'm mixing out a yellow-green type color, again by mixing onto that lid and exploring my brush strokes. Abstract strokes, you're not trying to paint it to look like anything. You just get to play with all of these colors. Try to limit your palette a little bit. Think about the colors you plan on using. I'm just exploring all colors for this. But think about the ones that you'd want to use on your final draft. Sometimes I paint with a really wet brush. Other times I use a drier brush. Here I'm doing a little bit of a splatter paint technique. Also, you can see mixing out blues and purples, making those blend directly on the paper. More wet in some areas, more dry in other areas. Remember that water is needed to activate all of these colors. With a watercolor, make sure you have water to help these colors flow. Here's a glazing technique where I'm actually going to use the transparent paint to layer on top. And now I'm doing wet and wet, where I just painted water on my paper and I'm dropping colors into it. When my paper is really wet, I can actually lift it up and let them kind of run around. Try different brush strokes. Your brush strokes don't need to be all side to side. They could be in little circles. So change the direction and see what you can explore with your brush strokes. Careful of splatter paint. All you have to do is put a little bit of wet paint on your bristles, pull the bristles back. Just be careful of how much that will spray. You don't want to ruin your clothes or splatter on your friend. So I'm going through my pages and trying to see what it is I want to use. Make sure you check the back before you kind of cut, because there may be something on the other side. I cut kind of loosely around my animal and that text because I'm not really for sure how I'm going to use it. But then I'm going to look through and see some other things I may want to use. So none of the other animals relate, but I can look through, in this case, for some leaves, and maybe that's going to be a part of the scenes I'm going to set up or a part of the layers I'm going to do. I'm cutting out the text that goes along with the animal. I found a little bit more text that, generally speaking, goes with it, and that's kind of a weird shape, but that may be kind of fun to play with later. Some things I may want to trim up a little bit closer on. And come in really tight. Some things I just might want to keep big and open. So the last paper I just cut kind of a big shape around it, whereas here I'm going in each of the notches and taking my time cutting things out. I don't know how I'm going to use everything yet. I may not want to use all of this, but at least if I have it, then I am good to go with those pieces. Double check your trash before you throw it away, and when you're done, get rid of that. Save everything you want to keep. For sourcing pages, I could use coloring book pages, colored printer paper, cardstock. I could use old maps, paint swatches from the home improvement store, construction paper, old books I no longer need, can cut apart, scrapbooking paper, junk mail, magazines, and catalogs. Another idea for papers is the inside of envelopes. These security envelopes that come in the mail have a really awesome pattern a lot of times on the inside. And also, instead of cutting, you could also tear. You can see the printed and then the white on the inside. So instead of cutting your shapes, don't forget that you can tear shapes out too. And here I'm going through and pulling out some things that I like. They could be that I actually like the illustration in there or the drawing. Here I see these fun little colors that go with my color scheme. Plan on using mint, so I just found a whole section of mint that I could cut up from there. I may use that flat color and cut up my own shapes. I actually found an armadillo in that one. So to get started on assembling, I'm going to need my worksheet to reference, my scissors, ruler, glue stick, and a pencil, plus all of my pages that I've sourced. And I'm just going to go through and with all 4 of my sheets laid out, begin to kind of brainstorm. I may totally change what I had in my sketches, but that's okay. I'm just going to lay things out and kind of start with that plan, but move things around as I see. I can cut some shapes out. Remember, we're thinking geometric and organic shapes. You can free cut with a pair of scissors. You may want to sketch on your paper first with a pencil, maybe the back of the sheet of paper. You may want to even make stencils where you kind of make something on a separate sheet of paper, trace it, and cut it so you get it right if you don't want to ruin your paper. I'm going in and cutting around my armadillo here. I've decided that I'm going to cut in pretty tight around him and remove that cactus. That's going to be a little bit separate. I can either cut right on my lines, or I feel comfortable just cutting a little gap away. I'm not committing to anything yet. I'm just kind of laying things out. No glue is out yet. I just want to see what my options are. Organic and geometric shapes. Remember, you're going to need to pick some shapes that have more straight lines, hard edges, some that kind of flow a little bit more. And I'm just moving things around, cutting, layering, trimming, kind of playing with where I'm going to lay all my different pieces out. The days that we're playing with the assembly, we're not going to stick everything down right away. So make sure you take a photograph of anything that you like that plan, nothing is glued down, have a way to document what that idea was. So now that I like my plan, I'm just going to work one square at a time and get out my glue stick and begin sticking things down final draft. Start at the back, work your way from the back up towards the details with this layer kind of process. If anything hangs over the edge, you can go back and trim it up. Maybe some things are going to move, you weren't expecting them to go there, and you've changed your mind, you're going to move things around. It is not too late to make those kinds of changes. Remember, we're working with organic and geometric shapes. If you realize that you need to add something more in, it's not too late. You can always go back in with your pen, your Sharpie, your colored pencils, and go add in some Zentangle patterns, your doodles, drawings, text, and build more into all of these layers. With your black sheet of paper, if it has been folded in half, awesome. If not, you're going to start with one center fold, and then we're creating what's called an accordion fold. We want this paper to zigzag back and forth. So you're going to need to fold it backwards. You'll kind of see here what that zigzag is going to look like, and same thing on the other side. So zigzag your back and forth folds. You need to use the side of your finger to get a good crease because this is a very thick type of poster board. I want my work to close like this. So if you have a sticker on your paper and it's on the wrong side, you're going to need to flip your folds. You want the sticker, when you pull it off, it causes a little bit of damage to your paper. So you want that to be on the back. So I may need to flip my creases so that I can't see that sticker here on my front of my work if you have a sticker on your paper. Once my paper has been folded, I'm going to lay out my 4 sheets of paper. I may decide to change the order from what I originally thought. Maybe you even want to rotate some of your papers. With my glue stick, I'm going to go all the way around my outside border, X through the middle, and there should be an even kind of 1/4 inch border all the way neatly around each one of these squares. So take my time making sure this part looks nice and neat, and that I have plenty of my glue stick to hold these papers intact. You're going to end by signing your work. Bottom right hand corner of these 4 images, let's get your initials and the year on your paper.